One of the secrets I use to ensure my garden looks good as well as being productive is vertical elements like this. They add height and structure, drawing the eye upwards and giving the garden a sense of balance. With vertical supports, everything feels fuller, more intentional, and you can cram a lot more food into the same space. So let's look at some of my favourite ways to grow upwards using simple, reliable supports we're going to make together right now. Sounds good to you? Fab stuff. Let's crack on. Now, regular viewers may be keen in the eye and noticing that I've changed all of my old beds for these new ones. And with all of that done, I can now turn my attention to considering some vertical supports for the likes of cucumbers, beans and tomatoes. And I'm really keen to show you how I'm going to be making them and why I've chosen certain designs. My new fresh looking beds, by the way, are made using pallet collars, giving everything in this part of the garden a good, clean, fresh start. The old beds were beginning to rot away and fall to bits, so it was definitely time to dig them out and drop in these new beds, making this whole area look decidedly more spick and span. Each pallet collar cost me just £7 or around $10, which is an absolute bargain as far as I'm concerned. They last for at least 4 to 5 years and make planning what to go where a doddle. But you're not here for that. Let me show you my first way to grow vertically. Both cattle panels and livestock fencing like this are strong and flexible, which makes them absolutely perfect for all manner of vertical growing projects. Cattle panels can be stood upright as trellises, larger ones can be sort of bent into arches, or as I'm doing here, you can pair two together to make an A-frame for sprawling favourites like cucumbers. Because these panels are rigid, they will stand up to a surprising amount of weight, which means they'll be suitable for heavier crops like squash and melons, and they'll last a long time too. Do make sure though that whatever you are buying is either powder coated or like this galvanised. This setup is simplicity itself. It's joined at the top here, and then I can just open it out to the right angle appropriate for the width of the bed, making it very flexible indeed. These panels are fairly narrow, so I'll likely grow just one cucumber on each side. And as the panels get covered in those luscious leaves and truly tempting fruits, it should look really very attractive indeed. This is looking great already. I can't wait to see my cucumbers grow up it. For some reason, sourcing good cattle panels where I am is really difficult, but what I can get my muddy mitts onto is this stuff, livestock fencing. As you can see, it's really flexible, which makes it fantastic for creating full height vegetable arches. These here are my regular arches that I grow my beans up every summer. Their ornate design and good looks really makes them a feature of this garden, which is quite tight in space and where I want to really give a good aesthetic punch as well as practicality. It's one of the reasons I decided to drop them in here in the first place. These arches look fabulous, but they were a bit pricey to be honest. So if you're not willing to pay a huge amount for these, or perhaps you want a nice deep longer arch, then I have you covered. I've made my own vegetable arch before and it's quite straightforward to do, so let me show you how to do it. Hammer in strong, sturdy uprights like this into the ground, at least a foot or so they don't wobble about, using either a mallet or a post rammer like this, which you can hire or buy relatively cheaply. Set them into the ground the same width as your livestock fencing. Then once you're done ramming in those uprights, measure out your length of livestock fencing and then tie it to your supports using cable tie. Unfurl it up and over. Make sure you leave enough height in it though so you can easily walk under it. And I'll go through and trim all these bits off so it's looking a bit tidier. Now this homespun arch might not be as good looking as an off-the-shelf one, but once this is covered in things like squash and beans, well, my goodness me, it really does look the bee's knees. And also just having it spanning over beds means that every single square inch of space is utilised and you're getting crops from everywhere, which is fantastic. If you want a double width arch, then just lay your livestock fencing on the ground again as your template, put your another upright in like that and just keep on like that to create a nice tunnel effect. Livestock fencing and cattle panels can also be fantastic for making your own tomato cages, and homemade versions are often a lot sturdier and more useful than some of the sort of flimsy and definitely more expensive versions that you can buy. Tomato cages provide all-round support by hemming in individual plants, and you can also use them for bush varieties of cucumber, as well as peppers and maybe eggplant or aubergine. By keeping these plants off the ground, the cages help promote better airflow, which reduces the risk of disease and of course makes harvesting easier too. To make a tomato cage from livestock fencing, just cut it to the right sort of width so it tightly hugs the plant, and then once you've got that, you can use the ends of the wire here to literally weave it around and sort of hold it into place to make that sort of little loop. And then to stop your tomato cage blowing away or toppling over, you can just use a piece of bamboo cane and weave it in and out like this. And when you get to the bottom, thrust it into the ground, and that's perfectly sturdy now. Or for a more elegant solution, try something like these obelisks here, which I've used not only as tomato cages, but also to encourage squash upwards, tied in at regular intervals to guide them up. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your long hair. Anyway, if you want something that's more flexible and lighter than both cattle panels and livestock fencing, this kind of thing, trellis netting, is ideal. It's super lightweight, and as I say, it's super flexible for all sorts of uses. This kind of netting would work really well for tomatoes. I mean, honestly, can you imagine a wall of tomatoes on this stuff? It would look just incredible. I reckon it would also work well with things like climbing peas and other lighter vining crops and flowers such as beans and sweet peas. Netting like this is easy to attach to posts or frames like I'm doing, and I saw this used to truly fantastic effect in Jacques' San Diego garden that we featured on the channel recently. And if you missed it, do go and check it out because it's the most amazing garden. I'll link to it down below. The netting I'm using is made from biodegradable jute, and with a little care I might get a couple of seasons use out of it, but once I'm done I can just throw the whole lot onto the compost heap. But if you are wanting something a bit more longer lasting, then something like polyester netting might be worth seeking out. I'll position this properly later, but netting like this is fantastic because it's easy to cut to size so it can fit a double or single bed, whatever space you've got. The secret though is to make sure it's nice and stretched to get it nice and taut. That way, when your plants are growing up it won't sag. Twine-based systems like the Florida weave are simplicity itself. By setting sturdy posts into the ground like this, then weaving string either vertically or in this case horizontally, you can create supports that grow with the plant as they head upwards. And I've got these posts here that I've sawn down to a reasonable height like this for our determinate tomatoes or bush ones. A genius little tip I picked up last summer when visiting Kevin at Epic Gardening is to make poles from something like electrical conduit, then spray paint the poles to a colour of your choice. Green works best so they blend into the garden, and I will link to that video down below as well. Now let me show you how easy it is to do this Florida weave. Obviously you do this in the summer or spring when your plants are planted and growing, and it's winter now, but I just wanted to show you. So I've tied it to our end post here. I'm going to run it along one side to our middle post, take it one way round like that so we're back on the same side again, and then continue to our end post here. Go round a couple of times like this so it's nice and taut. Bring the string round the middle pole again, making sure you're back on the other side, and then furl it back round your starting post a few times, cut it off and then tie it in. And if we take a step back, we can see what we've got here. I've basically got two parallel lines of string, so as the plants grow I can just feed the plant in the middle here and it's supported on both sides. This kind of height here, 3 or 4 feet or around a metre, is perfect for bush type tomatoes. But for indeterminate or vining tomatoes I would go a lot taller than this. And as the plants grow I will add another horizontal line of string like this every foot or so, or 30 centimetres high. This method is also great for plants like peppers and tomatillos, by the way, and I reckon it would be really good for peas as well, keeping everything upright and off the ground, improving airflow and making tasks like pruning and harvesting a lot easier too. And it's a great, cheap and effective way of supporting plants if you've got a very long row. And let's not forget the original go-to for vertical punches of interest, the teepee, absolutely perfect for beans, as well as climbing flowers like sweet peas and nasturtiums, and just about any vining favourite. Teepees made from bamboo canes or wooden poles like hazel are simple and inexpensive, possibly even free if you grow them yourself in the garden, and they are incredibly effective. To make my teepees, I always start with some sort of round template like this water barrel lid. Put it in there like that, and then I can put my canes around it so they're nice and neat and form a true circle. My teepees are either consisting of 6 or 8 canes. So for both of those, we can start by putting our canes in at the equivalent of 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock like that. And then we can put either 2 either side or 3 either side, depending on whether we want 6 or 8 canes. With them all in, I can now remove my lid and then bring the canes together at the top with some sturdy twine to finish off our teepee. Now obviously you can use longer bamboo canes for taller vining plants and just adjust it to your needs. If you want something that's even more supportive, then what you could do is run lengths of horizontal twine along the canes to create more of a kind of trellis effect. That's really good for things like cucumbers. Then there are your traditional flat trellises made of wood, metal or homemade. And then there are trellises built into garden furniture, like here on my little arbour here, where I've got these beautiful Japanese wineberries climbing up it with their irresistibly coloured stems. And of course, when locating any trellising, make sure it's towards the back of the bed so it adds height without shading anything in front. All these structures add a lovely classic look to the garden while still being highly practical. Vertical gardening isn't just about growing more food, it's about creating a garden that's both productive and beautiful. I'll catch you next time.